As a company, SNK must have been putting something in the water that kept all of their staff enthused and energised. It's just over 1 year from the release of Samurai Shodown, they released a sequel, and that sequel contained a whole slew of improvements over the original. Now, as you may have figured out, Samurai Shodown is one of my all-time favourite games. It was the reason I bought myself a Neo Geo in the first place, and only a few short months after I got my hands on Samurai Shodown, I bought the sequel in January 1995. I had always maintained that I was only going to buy games if they came up at a reasonable price, and that rule did not last very long at all, and I broke that rule when I bought this game. This was the very first Neo Geo game I bought brand new, and full price. Well, almost full price. I paid the rather princely sum of £175 for this game. The dearest game I owned up to that point in my life. And it wasn't a rash purchase either. I had played this in the arcades just a few weeks before Christmas '94, and to me, it was every bit as good as the original. And it was my mate who said, I shouldn't wait for it to come down in price. If I could afford it, I should just buy it. And that is how I ended up with this game in my small Neo Geo collection. SNK rebuilt this sequel from the ground up, including almost all of its predecessor's cast, adding several new characters, and refining the overall gameplay with more responsive control. More moves, particularly the use of the POW meter, is a super special move meter. These moves not only cause severe damage to the opponents, but also break their weapons, forcing them to fight unarmed for a short interval before a replacement weapon is issued. The overall gameplay was expanded to include several movement options, such as being able to roll forward and backward, ducking to avoid high attacks, or doing small hops to avoid low strikes. This game was also the first game to incorporate an offensive blocking technique, or parry, via a command issued at the last second. A player would be able to deflect the incoming attack and leave their adversary open to attack by a split second. Tam Tam was removed from the character roster, and the boss Amaxa was reduced to a few cameo appearances in the game, but 6 new characters had appeared, each with their own story and fighting style, but the addition of the new characters did upset the balance slightly in my opinion, with some of the fighters' combos doing way more damage than others. The game also showed that SNK were deadly serious about taking the fight to Capcom for the versus fighter superiority in arcades, and in 1994 SNK would release 2 other fighters that really did deliver a hefty blow to Capcom. As well as being the most expensive game I had ever bought up to that point in my life, it was also the largest, filling up a simply mind-boggling 202 megabit cartridge, almost twice the size of the prequel. And this extra memory was put to fantastic use on the visuals and sound. The visuals had been improved, which was an impressive feat as the prequel had some of the best graphics to be seen on a sprite-based fighter. There were extra frames of animation for just about all of the returning characters, and even more animated backgrounds this time around. The new characters look absolutely gorgeous, and look like they have always been a part of the game. And it's hard to explain. Quite often, when an existing franchise gets an update, new characters look better than the original ones. But in Samurai Shodown 2, I think every character was lovingly recreated from scratch. In terms of SNK fighters, of which there are many, the visual appearance of Samurai Shodown 2 has to be my very favourite. The characters look amazing, and the period authentic backgrounds are jaw-dropping. I especially like the snow-filled backgrounds of Yube's scene. It would have been so easy just to use the same backgrounds as before, but SNK made subtle changes to most of them. Although, you do get the odd background that looks like the same as the previous one, like Kayoshiro's for example, and Shiranu Igenan's background, which now includes a broth pot. And is that an alien cooking in there? If he eats that, he is bound to get some acid indigestion. Nicotine's background has this rolling mist or fog coming down the stairs. Or, given his name is Nicotine, is that just cigarette smoke? Who knows? But it looks glorious for sure. The sound is again outstanding in this game. The soundtrack in particular is awesome, with some fighters getting an update to their themes. Earthquakes, for example, now fuses this old Japanese woodwind instrument with guitar, and it's great. His theme in the last game is amazing as well, but in this one, it's as equally impressive. Charlotte's theme has had a makeover as well, and it sounds more period than the last, more in line with what you would find in a French 1800s period drama, but it still sounds great. The new character, Saiga, has this brilliant, ominous, almost evil sounding tune, but I have to say the soundtrack in the game is off the hook. This was a really great thing with the prequel. The music it used for a lot of the characters was done with period instruments, and that was something that was often overlooked by a lot of gamers. But for me, given I had always favoured sound over graphics, I felt it added the right amount of atmosphere to the game, and even the stages with the slow themes helped create a high degree of tension during the fight. The slow pacing of the music keeping in line with the slow, strategic pacing of the battle. The sound effects are again all top quality, using a majority of the same sound effects from the previous game. And why not? I mean, SNK had got it so right with the last game, so why change up a good thing, right? As with all Neo Geo games, there is more than a fair smattering of speech to be heard throughout the game, and it all sounds brilliant, crisp and very clear. The gameplay is very similar to its prequel as well, But this time, a few small changes have been made to the fighting. Instead of just losing a weapon, you can find yourself with no weapon at all, as it has been destroyed in combat, and you need to wait forever, it seems, to get another one. The rage gauge has been changed ever so slightly now as well. Some characters can deliver really devastating attacks now, and others less so, which did bring the small imbalance I spoke of earlier. But a really neat feature of the game is that move execution is now displayed above the rage gauge to show the player how to execute the move, and not just for the player you control, for the opposing player as well. It might not seem like much, but when playing a game for the first time, it does help you figure out how the move execution actually works. So with all of these improvements, Samurai Shodown 2 must be a better game than Samurai Shodown, right? Well, actually no. Not for me, anyway. Like I said, I get this game brand new, something just a year prior I would never have been able to do. And over the course of my school years, I would spend many an evening gazing into video game magazines and swooning over the screenshots and reviews of games I wanted to own or play. And I think that time spent coveting games made me appreciate them more. Now that I had left school and was working, and been able to buy games whenever I wanted, the swooning and the gazing stopped. And I think this actually had an impact on the way I now viewed video games. I had played Samurai Shodown 2 briefly in the arcade, and just decided to buy it as I could. But it didn't have the same impact on me as the prequel did. A game I played several times in the arcades, and also countless hours wishing I could own a copy. And I think it was this daydreaming of the game that made me grateful to own it. And that just wasn't there with Samurai Shodown 2. It's still a great game, and I truly recommend you give it a go. But I always did prefer the original, and over the years, I have played the original a lot more than its sequel. The original just means more to me from a nostalgic point of view. But honestly, please do give Samurai Shodown 2 a go if you haven't already, because you won't be disappointed. And that was my look back at Samurai Shodown 2. If you liked this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or maybe even a comment or two below about your memories of Samurai Shodown 2. And a massive thank you to all of those who have subscribed to my channel and commented on my videos. Your feedback and support really does go a long way in helping the channel grow, and I do appreciate all of the comments and support. So it's a massive thank you from me. And that's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.
お見事